Hello Nippies, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, welcome. I'm Nips, I'm an artist, and today we're going to be working on these postcards, which at this point, honestly, I've done so many of these that I think I should just make a playlist of all the videos I've done of the postcards, which I guess I'll link in the upper right hand corner for you guys to check out if you guys are interested in that. So for those of you that don't know, I do have a comic called Off Cell, which is free to read, 18+, please be careful. It's uncensored over on offcellcomic.com and censored over on Tapastic and Webtoons. And over on Patreon, I want to thank everybody who supports me there. Thank you guys so much for helping my art come to life. It really does mean a lot. And I have a tier there for monthly custom postcards, which is where these come from. And I just absolutely have so much fun making them. These, as you can see, are Christmas themed. So I made these last year and we're already in the new year 2020. So I apologize. We're a little bit late on these, I guess, but I did film them. Usually when I make these postcards, they are one character, but I did something a little bit more fun, and I had the tier holders pick kind of pairings that we could put like under the mistletoe and stuff. So these are really, really fun. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. After this, we'll do a brief segment on the materials that I used for the postcards, and hope you enjoy. All right, here we are with the materials, guys. This is pretty much everything that I used for the materials. I have all of these listed in my Amazon shop below, and if the item is not there, it's because I couldn't find the exact item, or I probably didn't get it off there. And of course, if you do not want to watch the materials, go ahead and skip on forward to this timestamp here, and you can go straight into the speed paint. If not, let's dive right into the materials, which are the material for the actual paper. It's cold pressed watercolor paper, pretty heavy, pretty durable, has nice texture. I cut the corners with this Kadomaru corner cutter. It's got different sizes. Then I go ahead with my Casimir pencil right here, this black one, for the rough sketches on computer paper. And then we transfer it over with our graph gears here, Pentel Graph Gears 1000. I use here the 0.7 with this Pilot colored lead. They come in all the different colors. I absolutely love this. You guys know this is my tried and true 0.7. And then we'll go in with the fine details 0.3 with our Uni 0.3 2B lead. I go ahead and do my lines with my 005 micron. For erasers, we'll go in with our Faber-Castell kneaded eraser, mono eraser here, and then I have the mini one for smaller details, also mono. We've got our Jelly Roll pen for the highlighters, white here, charcoal white pencil, and then lately I've been using my Arteza white gouache for the highlights in paint form. Then most of the watercolors I used in these postcards are my Shinhan watercolors, which I absolutely love, and then my Dr. P.H. Martin's concentrated watercolor. I absolutely love these for my more saturated neon colors, which you guys know I am obsessed with, which I used in my trippy acid kind of postcards, which I'll put in the upper right hand corner so you guys can check those out, because I actually am very proud of how those came out. And of course the tapes, which I will try my best to put in the Amazon, but a lot of these are no longer being sold on Amazon. So we've got our fan brush, which I can't find this exact one because it came with a keyboard, an ASIO keyboard, and I just kind of use it to brush my art instead of my keyboard. We've got some really nice, it's a nice sound, some nice plastic palettes, which I absolutely love. Washable, reusable, it's really awesome. And this is a newest addition to my collection. You guys can see how nice it magnifies there. You guys know I love to add lots of details and use my really, really fine art supplies. And so lately I've noticed an eye strain, neck and back strain, because I'm always hunching over my drawings, especially traditionally. So I used these recently. I cannot put these down when I work traditionally, more so on illustrations, not sketchbooks, but on illustrations where I really need to get in those details and make it all look really perfect. These are a lifesaver. I've added them to my Amazon shop if you want to see them. Let me actually pull up the little card, because they come with several of these in different magnifications. If you guys want to see them, let me go get them really quick. So here we go. They come with different magnifications, which is really, really amazing. I just love the quality. I just love everything about this, honestly. I think this magnification, the smallest one, is honestly the most comfortable one for me. but the 15 and the 20 are pretty good as well. This is something that you're interested in and you find yourself getting some eye strain, putting too much detail into your traditional work, highly recommend these. And then we've got our Bokuteki Japanese Sumi ink, which I couldn't find this one exactly because I didn't get this on Amazon. I found a different version of this one. This is my extra dark one. I really like the heavy pigment, this heavy blacks, but they do have the green one, which is I think less dark. I think that might be in my Amazon shop instead. And then we've got, of course, a pair of tweezers, and then our light pad light box here, which is not, I think, the exact one that's in my Amazon shop, because I think this is an older version, but I put one that I think is the same brand and similar to this one there as well. But this one, really amazing. Probably have to change it already since the light's kind of dimming. It's pretty old. It's not mine, so probably buy my own at some point in the future. So other than that, that's pretty much our set of supplies for these postcards, and I'm really excited for you guys to see the process. Let's just jump right into that. All right, guys, so we're in for a long one today. You're gonna be seeing this in the new year, even though these are Christmas postcards. So happy New Year's, guys. I hope you had a great one. Hope you had a safe one, a fun one. And if you didn't do anything, if you just hung out by yourself, whatever the case may be, I hope it was good. And I hope we kick ass here in 2020. For this video, for those of you that don't already know, every time that I plug it, you guys know, I do have a comic name, Offcell, and my Patreon does support that. It is 18 plus, so please police yourself. It's on Tapastic Webtoons, free to read, and it's uncensored over on offcellcomic.com, but the website is still under construction, so be on the lookout for that. There's a lot of cool stuff coming our way. I'm really excited to bring that to you in 2020. Over there on Patreon, I do have 3 slots of my highest tier, which is the postcard tier, which is what you guys always see me creating postcards. I know you guys get tired of these postcards after a while. Right now, a couple slots just opened up. There are only 3, and this tier specifically gets custom illustrations mailed to you every month of whatever characters you want from my comic. I decided to do something a little special for this one. Shout out to GB, Snark, and Saw, who were the tier holders for December. Merry Christmas, a little late. Some of you already saw this on Twitter and Instagram, if you guys follow me or my comic on there. But if you haven't, then this is what they looked like. Usually the tier holders for these will have a character that they like specifically, or they'll just change it up. Sometimes they'll just want to collect all of one character, or they want to collect one of each character, so they'll switch it up every month. So it is very different for each Patreon. And so for this month, I thought it would be kind of fun to do more than one character for each postcard, just because it's Christmas, and I decided to do kind of like a mistletoe situation. What I did was I asked each tier holder to pick not just one character, but maybe 2 that they'd like to see together in a mistletoe situation. So 2 of them picked 2, and then one of them picked one character and told me that I could pick the other one. And so I kind of made my own little pairing there. Even in these like quote unquote couple situations, I always try to find a way to make it as canon as possible. So everything that I draw from my comic is technically canon no matter what I draw. I feel like it's less complicated that way, so that every time the audience sees any Offcell art, they can just safely assume that it's canon. So I always try to draw it with that mindset. So here you'll see that I have Saskia and Enzo, and then here we have Jet and Anya, and for the other one we have Pim and Alvin. You can probably guess whose is whose. So for these, I think my most difficult issue that I wanted to tackle with these was fitting 2 people in such a small space. So I did make them slightly bigger. I also went with a different shape, which was square. I typically do rectangle, but for some reason I just thought it would be aesthetic to make it just a perfect square. I don't know what the hell was going through my mind when I thought that, but I did, and I did it, and here we are. I decided to go with water-based material, and so I went with my cold pressed watercolor paper, so it does have some texture on it. I don't know why I feel like my cold pressed watercolor paper deals with the amount of water better than my hot pressed. So sometimes if I know I'm gonna wash a lot of stuff on it, I will just default to the cold press instead. I don't know if maybe that's just something that I'm kind of uninformed about. I didn't necessarily have a very specific vision about what I wanted, other than I knew I wanted to do tape, and I have so much washi tape at my disposal. I absolutely, like, washi tape is one of my weaknesses in traditional art, and so the postcards are usually where I default to my washi tape usage. So I wanted to use a lot of fun green and red tapes that I had stored up, and other than that, I wasn't really quite sure what I wanted to do in terms of the actual subjects and the people in frame. Most of the time when I do washi tape postcards, I will try to keep the focus more on the tape, because if I color the piece too much, it just makes everything look really tacky. And so I really wanted to just keep the details on the tape, especially since the tapes that I was going with were very, very pattern heavy and very saturated colors. My issue too was that most of the time when I do washi tape, I will add washi tape to the clothes or clothing articles. And what happened in these was that I added too much texture to the clothes, like too many folds and too many details. And a lot of the times when I put the tape on the clothes, I intentionally don't add details, or I will find clothing items or accessories that are not that detail heavy so that it's easy to apply the tape. So you'll see here that Alvin's jacket was supposed to have tape because I only did the silhouette and I tried not to do folds. And then you'll see how that just completely changed as the picture went on. Another thing that you'll notice is these postcards are really not that big. And if you look at the bottom left corner, you see my face. I have these like spectacle glasses on, and they're very funny. They're called dentist loops. They're actually in my materials Amazon shop link down below if you guys want to check out the exact ones that I bought. But when I do these postcards, I get very detail intensive. A lot of my traditional work is very detail intensive. It was starting to get to the point that I would hunch over way too much. And you can see I'm still hunched over because inevitably I'm doing traditional work. So I am just gonna hunch over. But I was straining my eyes and I was straining my neck and my back and everything, and I just couldn't take it anymore. And I was like, is there something that I can buy that will zoom in real life? And I was like, oh my God, those dentist like zoom glasses is literally what I put in Google. I was like, what are those dentist zoom glasses called? They're called like loops. So I found them on Amazon, and it's been a lifesaver, guys. Honestly, a lifesaver. I don't have to strain my eyes too much. I can easily focus on the details without squinting and making like harsh facial expressions to really hone in on those areas that I want to see. So I wish that my webcam camera did justice to the amount of details that I like putting in my work. So unfortunately, I think there's a lot that's just going unnoticed. I think that's a lot of the reason why I also just prefer to film on my iPhone camera, just because the quality is just so much better. Either way, I think it's still pretty good. You'll see me just adding all these really heavy details, having fun as usual, doing the most. I did this one on stream. I remember wanting to do all of them on stream all at once. Me, as usual, extremely ambitious, don't think about it too much, and then I go to do it and I think everything is fine, and then everything is not, and then 10 hours on stream later, we're still drawing, and I'm like, I thought I could do all of them in one sitting. So you'll see me comparing all these sketches, because normally when I do these, I try to do them all in the same steps. So I'll do the thumbnails for all of them, then do the expanded sketches, and then transfer them over at the same time, then do the pencils, then the inks and everything, just so that they're all moving along at the same pace. Sometimes I will do one completely before I do the others, and usually I'll default to that process if I don't know exactly how I want it to end. So I'll experiment with one and then I'll match the other two to that one. In this one, I pretty much knew what I wanted them to be until I got to the coloring part. So I ended up finishing the Alvin and the Pim first, and then finishing the other ones. But on stream, I only really had time to ink the Pim and the Alvin one, and then I kind of semi-penciled the other two. I think a lot of it too was this specific card, the Jet and the Anya one. I was having so much trouble with Jet's face. Like, an inordinate amount of time went into trying to get Jet's face to be in the correct angle. I was just having a mental breakdown. You'll see me comparing it here. The sketch, the original sketch, had so much energy and so much life, and it had exactly what I wanted. And some people are like, well, why don't you just trace it like you did in the light box? And I wanted to, but when I tried initially, I had stained the paper. Here you see it. Like, I even erased, you can still see how stained the paper is. So I couldn't even see through that on the light box. And so I was kind of stuck, and I had to just figure it out. You'll see me pencil literally everything except that area. Finally, we're switching over to some high quality recording. Can you guys tell the difference? Can you guys tell how different the quality is? Oh my lord. I absolutely love the iPhone. A lot of the times, like, I love streaming and I love sharing the process of all my art with you guys, especially like if I know it's gonna be traditional. Sometimes I get so wary because it just looks so bad with the webcam camera. Like, it does not do it justice, and I feel like no one will want to watch it because the quality is so bad. Let me know if you guys can see the difference. Maybe I'm just going bonkers here, but let me know if you guys can see the difference between the webcam and between this one, which is my iPhone. here you see me start trying to complete this postcard before the others. You guys have seen me do washi tape postcards before. If you haven't already, I'll probably link some up in the corner. Maybe I'll make a playlist of my postcards because at this point I have so many time lapses of postcards. I think it would merit a postcard playlist. So I'll just go ahead and link that in the upper right hand corner. And I'm using my light box with the tape to create the background. Now, this step order is pretty unorthodox for me. Usually I'll do the coloring first and then the tape. Not only because if you do the tape before and then do the watercolor after, you have a possibility for the water to seep in and lift the tape. Usually I will match the tape to the outfit, but because I really just had no idea what direction I wanted to go for the outfits and for the main coloring, I decided to just work with whatever I was sure of. And what I was sure of was the tape. So I decided to just put the tape first and say, listen, I cannot be wasting time overthinking this. So I put the tape and I said, let's match the colors to the tape then. I got really scared. I took pictures of this without the tape and just the ink, and I scanned it as well, just because I really liked the line work a lot. And I was really scared that I would honestly just ruin this whole postcard with the incorrect colors or the incorrect medium. Like, I was just having a mental breakdown. I used some of my PH Martin inks. I brought out my Sumi ink and my gouache to complete this postcard. You'll notice that in the end, I kind of just left the tape to the background. I decided to just paint the foreground entirely, and that's why I went with some colors. I usually do black and white, but I decided to do kind of black and white and then do splashes of red and green as kind of like the color. I wanted to do, again, the really high contrast black and white style that I did for the pin postcard. If you haven't seen that, it'll be in the postcard playlist, or it'll just be, I'll just link it in the upper right hand corner. But I absolutely love that style. I did it for the Anya and Pinko postcard as well. And I was like, well, what if I try that same shadow style, but with splashes of green and red? At this point, I was really winging it. I was just trying to use all my materials and make it all come together, honestly. I was very scared of messing up all the hard work that I had done in penciling and inking and putting so much time into the details of everything. And the thought of messing it up after so much work was rather terrifying and panic-inducing. And so in my head while I was doing this, I remember just saying, don't think about it and just do it. Because if I think about it, I will get worried, I will panic. In my head at the time, I remember just going and saying, listen, whatever instinct you have, just do it as long as it looks good. You'll see me just focus in on this postcard. This was the first one I completed, and I decided to just keep going until I felt that it looked good and presentable. I was pretty worried when I put the red and green on the sweaters, just because it looked like it was clashing so much with the tape. Like, I couldn't differentiate between the tape and the sweaters, and it just looked really, really tacky. It didn't look complete. It was a whole ass mess. Like, I'm not gonna lie. adding the black shadows really calmed me down a bit, because I really think that's when this picture started coming together. Those black shadows really started to make this illustration feel finished. And I think that's where my worry kind of started dissipating, and I started feeling more comfortable with this illustration. Was really starting to just feel happy about the outcome of these postcards, because a lot of the times, I feel like I've talked about this before, but a lot of the times I need a very clear vision of what I'm doing, because if not, it's pretty difficult for me to continue or to finish something. Like, I need to have a clear vision in my head of what I'm aiming for, what I'm headed towards, so I know not how to get there, but know where I'm going, so that I can use all the tools at my disposal in order to make that happen. Now the scale on these is very, very small, and I feel like I really cannot do the scale justice. Like, I wish there was a way to describe the scale to you, maybe comparing it to my hand, but these are not very big. And so the amount of details, just picture me drawing with those loops the entire time. These took a pretty significant amount of time, and those loops honestly were such a lifesaver. They definitely helped with the eye strain and the neck strain, so whew, shout out to the loops. So here we're finally starting with the second one, which is the Saskia Enzo one. And I thought this pairing was going to be very fun to do, but Enzo does have a significant other. So I didn't want this to be too like romantic looking, kind of. Even though he really is kind of like pretty lovingly kissing her cheek. I don't know. I just wanted it to look like good friends. Like I didn't want it to look like a big deal. I feel like I may or may not have not conveyed that properly, but yeah, I wanted it to just look like it's like a mistletoe kiss, but it's like, you know, we're just friends. I guess. I don't know how else to describe this. I thought that this color scheme and tape situation was going to be interesting because Enzo's hair is red, but it's not like red, it's like maroon, pink undertone type red. And so I think it would introduce a really interesting like Christmas theme tone dynamic, because for the Pim Alvin one I had a very bright pure red and green, but for this one, because Enzo's hair was more on the kind of like maroonish like pinkish side, I thought that we also kind of had to transcribe, I guess, like convert the green into a similar scale, and I found two perfect tapes for this postcard in order to do that. So it was really fun because each postcard had their own version of like red and green, and that was really fun to play around with because I didn't necessarily want to use the same red and green for each postcard because I thought that would be not boring but just like repetitive, and I thought it would be more fun to experiment with different kinds of reds and greens but still make them look like they all belong together. Another thing too was that little earmuff snowman that Enzo has was going to be, I was gonna make it like, I have a character called Yosef, and in the comic they're cellmates, and I thought it would be funny because Yosef has a beanie to make it like a Yosef snowman earmuff. But I decided kind of against it. Just, I don't know if it was gonna be too much. And I kind of, in hindsight, I'm like, man, I should have fucking done it. That is kind of cute, because like, it's a snowman and he has a beanie and it's like, it's Yosef. And he has a grill, like one silver tooth at the bottom. So it would have been funny if like one of the black like little snowman mouth rock coal things would have been like silver, like Yosef. Look at me go, in hindsight. Creativity in hindsight. So here we have the green and the red that I was talking about earlier, which is the kind of like this dark tealish type green, but also mixed in with some of that saturated, like not lime green, but like more yellowish green. And then we have this like dark maroon type red, but also mixed in with that like saturated red. Part of me, I remember, was very, very worried because I really liked the combination of the tapes a lot. Like, I thought those two tapes together plus Enzo's hair were perfect. But I think what scared me was how similar was this postcard going to look to the other one, insofar as like, would you be able to tell that they belonged to the same set, you know? So I was just worried that the tape selection was going to take away from the unity, the theme, I guess, unity of, or the series unity of these two postcards. And so I decided to just go with my gut and say, listen, I think the tape choices are good, the color choices are good. I'm honestly just gonna go through with it and I'm gonna do my best to make it look really nice. And I feel like once we start adding the blacks, the shadows with the Sumi ink, I think it's all gonna come together and it's going to inevitably look like the other postcard. So I decided to, again, paint without thinking too much and just put my faith in my gut. And surely enough, it did turn out pretty good. I actually really like this postcard a lot. I was definitely very worried about it, not just in color choice and tape choice, but also in hand choice, because that hand was not originally sketched out. I didn't know what I was gonna do with the hand, but it turned out pretty well. I decided to do the pattern on her shirt from the tape on his like little scarf situation, and I think it turned out pretty nice. I think putting the two cards together, you can definitely tell that they are part of the same series, and that kind of made me really happy. I was gonna do the black border on this one as well that I did on the other one, but for some reason I just thought it looked really nice without it. And now on to the last one. Oh my goodness, guys, this video is so long. I am so sorry that this video is so long. So this one was the one that was giving me the most trouble. And usually, I know I've said this before, but usually I try to just do the harder ones towards the beginning because I know that if I leave them for last, I'm gonna inevitably end up very tilted. So I broke my rule with this one because this one was just infuriating. Like, guys, I was so tilted by this one that I almost thought I had to just redraw the whole thing. And I liked certain aspects of the picture so much. It was so late in the night when I was working on these that I was like, there's no way that I can go back and draw this right now, redraw this right now. I really just have to sit here, buckle down, and find a way to make this work. Surely enough, guys, like the angle of the face was giving me trouble. The angle of Jet's body was giving me trouble. The pose of Anya's hand was giving me trouble. Everything was just going wrong. Like, I couldn't do it. And I don't know what happened, what came over me, but I actually got it to work. And I was just so happy that I got this one to work, that eventually, I don't know that this one would be one of my favorite one, but I definitely think it's my favorite insofar as the amount of obstacles that I encountered with this specific postcard and how I managed to come out of it pretty okay despite all of it, I think is why it would be my favorite. I do actually really love how this one came out. I love how stringy and layered Anya's hair is. I actually love how the faces and the hands came out, considering the Jet's face. Listen, maybe it came out ugly, but I like it, okay? I think it came out great considering how bad my interpretation of the original sketch was. It was sad. It was just sad to say the least, and I think I definitely pulled it together. Here it is with just the lines. This one was one that I was also scared of ruining. I think I took pictures and scanned this one as well, just in case. I really didn't want to ruin all the hard work that I put into the lines with some shoddy colors and messed up shadows. So maybe one day I'll color it with the iPad and make a different version of it that isn't with washi tape and whatnot. This one I was having some trouble with because since the first two both have green and red, but they have different types of green and red, for this one I wasn't quite sure what I was gonna do since I didn't have another type of green and red, quote unquote. I just had the same saturated red and the same saturated green, but with a different pattern. And so I didn't want it to seem like there were two postcards matching and then you had the Enzo and Saskia one just kind of like, okay, here we are. What I did was I tried to switch up the reds on the reds and the greens on the actual painting as opposed to the tape. And I went with kind of like this more dark olive green that you'll see in her hat, in Jet's hat. And I also went with this more orangey red and this more like darker red that isn't like pink undertone. It's like more orangey undertone. And then for Anya's scarf, I went with more like limeish green rather than like a yellow, like yellow-green. I don't know if that makes any sense. So I switched up the colors slightly, and I did go for some darker reds in there to kind of match the Enzo Saskia one, because that postcard tends to have more darker reds than the original Pim and Alvin one. So I tried to mix elements of both as much as I could, and I think I did a pretty good job. I think in the end, they really all do look like they belong together. So I'm pretty happy with the color choices in this one and how it all just turned out despite all the struggles. I think this one specifically was also giving me a lot of trouble on the shadow front. Jet and Anya's hair are both black, but I didn't want to color it fully black just because I had spent so much time on the lines that I thought it would be just a waste to color it too dark. And so not only that, but I wouldn't be able to do my really intense contrast heavy shadows if I made their hair too dark, because the values that I wanted to be the darkest were the ones that I was putting either under their chin, under the hats. And so if I made their hair the darkest value, it was going to throw off the entire purpose of the high contrast shadows that I wanted. So I ended up just defaulting to kind of like this light gray, and it worked out pretty nicely. I started adding the details with the white gouache like I did on the other postcards to kind of unify them all, make them all look like they belong together. Added some extra micron layers, some white charcoal pencil details, and just kind of finalizing everything. And honestly, I really like how this postcard came out. I feel like they all really do feel like they belong together, and it isn't necessarily what I had in mind when I started, but I don't know if better is the correct word. I wouldn't say that these are better than what I had in mind, but they do not disappoint me, is what I'll say. Like, I really am happy with these. I enjoy them thoroughly. I am very proud of them. I love how much detail I put in them. They're obviously not perfect, but the amount of work I put in them and how much space I had to work with 2 people in each one, definitely one of my achievements for 2019. One of my prouder pieces for 2019, I guess I'll say. But yeah, that is pretty much it for these. What a hefty video. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Let me know what you thought down in the comments below. Go ahead, subscribe, join the Nippy family today. Follow me over on Instagram and Twitter if you want to see more content, and if you want to see more comic content, I also have a Twitter and Instagram for that. Thank you so much, and I'll see you guys next video.